You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Chief Johnson.
From Los Angeles, California, and Maria Menounos, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV Spotlight On. Spotlight On is a long-form interview series featuring actors and TV personalities. And now, from the world's #1 TV after-show platform, this is AfterBuzz TV Spotlight On.
Hey, welcome to AfterBuzz TV. I'm Alikona Bradford here for a very special segment that we like to call Spotlight On, where we highlight your favorite TV actors and actresses. And today we have a very special guest. You've seen him on movies like End of Watch, Greencard Warriors, and Delta Farce. He's been on not one, but 3 soap operas. I'm talking General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, and All My Children. And now you know and love him as Derek. On the hit series Hit the Floor, please welcome Mckinley Freeman.
What up?
Hi.
Appreciate you having me. What are we doing? Let's make it happen.
Okay. Dun, da, da.
I love
so
that.
happy. Yes. So you're obviously filming season 2. Your lips are sealed for the most part, but is there anything you can share with us about season 2?
It's interesting. Well, it comes after season 1, which is newsflash.
I mean,
but,
wow.
I think I know I came here with so much information to share. No, I think the thing that I think fans can look forward to is more intrigue, more sex, more deviousness. I think James LaRosa and the producers over there and the amazing writers on the show have put together what I think is going to be an amazing season. I mean, to the point where even still now, as I get scripts and prepare, I'm still like, where is this?
Like, what? Where did they come up with this stuff?
Exactly. So it's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's a great show to be a part of, but I think, if you're a fan of Hit the Floor from last summer, just wait.
What if you're a fan of Derek Roman?
Yeah,
Good
I think.
stuff?
I think anything's possible this season with Derek Roman. I think. Last year, I think a lot of it was trying. I think what this season does for all the characters is it gives us a peek behind what we see every day, and kind of perhaps the part where you're like, oh, well, okay, I get it. So we get to dig deeper into who these people are, and I think that's pretty cool. And I think as far as Derek's concerned, I think you'll get a lot of that as well.
Are we going to, without giving anything away, are we going to get to hear a little bit more of his backstory? Because we know that he's got a little bit of a tumultuous past with his family, but we don't really know what.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something. That would be interesting to explore. I don't know if it does or does not happen, but I think, I think the really good thing that they've done in terms of structuring the season is that, after the season or during the season and after season 1, I'm sure plenty of people had plenty of questions, and I think what they did as listening to the pulse of the people that watch the show is trying to give people, answer the questions that people have been asking at some level. So I think on multiple levels, I think it's going to be one of those things that people are going to want to see what happens next, just like last season.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've had a pretty decent break, right? Since you finished filming season 1 and then January came around, season 2. What'd you do in the meantime?
Man, slept. I just stayed busy. I think, I self-published a book last fall,
Yes.
book of poems inspired by 10 Twitter followers that I didn't know.
This is so out of order, but I don't know if my engineer would be able to pull it up. We have a picture of your book. Not that it's, it's fancy.
Yeah.
It's very to the point, but yeah, I saw that. It's called At Mckinley Freeman.
McKinley Freeman, yeah. So,
we can talk about that. That's.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. So, this is, so basically I one night I was like, I used to do this thing where creatively I would challenge myself and I would just text somebody and say, hey, give me a word and I'll write a poem in 5 minutes, whatever the case may be. So last fall, late summer, fall, I was like, let me just tweet out and see what I get. And over the course of like maybe 4 or 5 minutes, I had like 500 or 600 words. So I took the first 20, divided it 10, and this is the first set of 10 poems that I wrote. But I think really the thing for me was recognizing like the possibility behind each word, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think, there were some fun words and stuff like that, but a lot of them were more life related, like pain or like suffering or love or mistake,
Yes.
So it's like, man, like, if things are going well for you, those probably aren't the words that you're going to throw out there. So I looked at it as an opportunity to, kind of connect with people on the same level, saying like, look, you might be going through some things, but I think we all are at some level, and I think poetry and words and sharing things is a way to create some kind of community to let people know that they're not the only person going through things. So anyway, the book was my effort towards that, and in the end, I think I might have sold like 4 copies.
But hey, no, wait. I just want to say, I mean, I'm sure you sold more than that, but you guys can still find the book because it's on Amazon. I saw it.
Yeah, no, it's out there. It's definitely out there. I think for me, more important than the number of books I sold was that if in the end I go through this whole effort and it helps one person and it was worth it. And I got messages saying, oh, this really helped me through this or that, and that is enough. You know what I mean?
But didn't you have a contest or something that's going along with this?
Oh, as part of there wasn't a contest, but what it was the 10 people whose words I used. I used, next to the word that they provided, I provided their @sing on Twitter.
I saw that.
Also.
Okay.
And then they also got like free copies of the book, and if I ever decide to print them, I'll sign them and send it to them, that kind of stuff. So it's very to me, it's to just be 100. Like Instagram and Twitter to me by itself doesn't really do much for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like what it is an opportunity to kind of bridge the gap between the people that are actually interested in a person's life or what they're doing career-wise, and let them know that I'm just as accessible as their other friend on Instagram.
Right.
So for me, it was about establishing a form of communication with people and like having a dialogue. You know what I mean? Like I started this thing called What You Think Wednesdays.
I saw that. I did see that.
It's funny. Like it was the most random thing, but I was getting out of the shower. I was like, why not? So I just was like, asked a question, came up with that, and so every Wednesday I've been doing it, and actually questions that I've had in dating wise, whatever the case may be.
I want to say, because a lot of it, I'm going to skip ahead. Then a lot of it does have to do with dating and relationships and stuff like that. So I'm just going to get it out of the way. We'll talk about ladies and relationships. You came in last season. You were single. Are you still single and ready to mingle? I'm
still single. I'm not married, and mingling is one of my favorite pastimes. So, no, I'm definitely single, and I think life provides opportunities to meet people, and I'm definitely open to the possibility. And I've met some really interesting ladies, and I think at the moment I'm still single, and if that changes, I'll sit here and tell you that it does. But for now, it hasn't.
So I know you get asked this like literally every single time you get an interview. I'm sure somebody's like, oh, what's your type of girl, and this, that, and whatever. Yeah. And that's so generic, but we're going to put that one off to the side. How about this? What would be your ideal, like a perfect date situation?
Man, to me, the perfect date situation is, know what time I'm going to pick you up and we'll figure the rest out. You know what I mean? I feel like, it's good to have a plan, but the plan can't be so rigid that it doesn't allow for things to live, and I think that's in any situation. I think for me, dinner and then figure the rest out. We could end up here, we could end up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you a sensitive guy?
I don't. It depends on what you mean by sensitive. Like if somebody's late, I'm not going to be crying when they get in the car.
No. But just like you're very emotional, or because some men are very emotionally intact with themselves, and others are very like, oh, emotions. Oh my God.
No, I mean, I don't want to be like talking someone through a breakdown on the first date or anything like that.
Yeah.
But no, I think any well-rounded person will have a little bit of both. I mean, without sensitivity, it's hard to be empathetic and connect with people, and with too much sensitivity, it doesn't really do much.
I think too much.
I'm going to get real philosophical with you. I think Martin Luther King said that love without power is sentimental and anemic, and power without love is reckless and abusive. So it's true. You have to have a balance. Like one without the other can't do anything, and vice versa.
Right. So there was a quote actually that I got off of your What You Think Wednesdays, and one of your posts, it says, I think books and opinions that give people rules have the chance to stifle something greater than the rules that have the potential to protect. Right? Yeah. So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I think the great thing about books is it's just like math. I mean, the books provide a common denominator, but it provides everybody with a baseline understanding of what this potential thing may be. But when the book becomes more important than what applies to you specifically, then the book becomes useless. I think there are great things about rules, and then there are great things that aren't so great about rules. You know what I mean? I think it's important that everybody allows themselves to be themselves, because in that, you have a different interpretation of the rules that work for you and some don't. And I think when someone subscribes to somebody else's rules and imposes them on their own life, that's when people get stressed out or whatever the case may be. And honestly, like I think a lot of the times our own thoughts, we construct our own prison cells. Like it's our own thoughts that allow us to be in these little containers, and I just refuse to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I want to
answer the question.
Yeah, no, it does answer the question.
You have to tell me because otherwise I'm just gonna be up here running my mouth. I'll start talking about menu items and like in and out and all kinds of stuff. So
No. I was just curious because I mean, with the whole dating situation, a lot of people like to play games, and that's how I interpreted what I read from your quote. Is just, are you talking about how people be like, okay, I don't want to text her in 3 hours because I don't want to seem needy, it's like, dude,
who cares?
if you like me, just say so.
If you like somebody, text them. If you want to holler at somebody, go talk to them. You know what I mean? Granted, like again, like nobody wants to be on a first date looking through, oh look, I used Photoshop to create what our family could look like. That's weird. You know what I mean? But you know, somewhere in there is something that works for everybody. And I think it's the more honest you are with yourself, the more honest you are about the situations you get yourself in. So.
Got it.
Yeah.
You know, I also want to talk about as far as things that you've been working on. I'm going to take it back just a little bit.
I'm sorry, I'm hopping all over.
No. It's totally okay because you have a movie coming out, right? Thanksgiving?
Yeah, the best Thanksgiving ever. I think it's coming out this fall. A buddy of mine wrote this really interesting comedy, and he brought me on board to produce it, and I have a little cameo in it. So it was a lot of fun. For me, what it was I've known this guy for a while, and I know he had talked about writing and doing this movie for a really long time. So when I read it, I was like, man, if there's anything I can do to help, you let me know. And he was like, man, I could use your help on this area and this area and this area. So I was like, all right, cool. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think.
Can you give us like a brief one-liner synopsis?
Yeah, it's kind of a buddy comedy that takes place over Thanksgiving weekend. You know, a guy kind of down on his luck turns to his friends, and sometimes that could be a good thing, and sometimes that could be a bad thing. And then there's relationship stuff in it as well. And I think as far as comedies go, I think it's going to do really well. And really well could be on the small level or the large level. Like, I guess a lot of it depends on the salespeople that get involved in these kinds of things. But I think as in terms of the content and what they were able to capture on film, I think it's going to be pretty funny.
Nice.
Yeah.
You were also on the cover of a magazine, Crave magazine.
Yeah.
We have a picture of that one. If my engineer could pull it up. One of the things I really loved about it, there's actually a quote at the bottom, and I'm sure it's not associated with your article per se, right? But in very big letters, it says Mckinley Freeman. And then below it, which you may not be able to see in that picture right there, but it says, where do I have this? Oh, whoa. Sorry.
You broke something.
I broke something. It's all McKinley's fault.
Yeah.
But let me pull this right back up.
Take your time. We have all day right here.
We do.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I'll just read it off of here if I can. It says something about plus badass whips, hot girls, and what it takes to be on your grown man swag. And I was like,
shoot, I'll take that too. Why not?
Is that part of you?
I don't mind any of those things
at
all.
I mean, what does it take to be on your grown man swag? What does that mean exactly?
Well, shoot. I think for me, it's just being honest. Like, yo, I got time for some things. I don't got time for others. Just real simple. And for me, confidence comes just from a genuine understanding of who I am. And like, yo, I'm who I am. You're who you are. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, I wish you the best of luck. And being able to move on from situations that don't necessarily be in and having peace about those things. But for me, it's like, yo, they got me in this stuff. I could have been sitting there in their pajamas. Like, I would have been cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a cocky thing, but it is definitely a thing that comes from knowing where my confidence comes from. It's not built on something that could change tomorrow. It's not built on the brand of clothes that I have on or what gym I go to or any of those things. It's the thing that follows me everywhere I go. And to me, that's the most important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you and your upcoming career and your path, because we talked about it the last time you were AfterBuzz. If you guys didn't watch, him and Taylor came in, they gave us a little bit of a brief rundown.
Yeah, that was fun.
And you didn't grow up thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be an actor and this is what I'm going to do. You were a business guy, right?
I had a completely different life. I had no desire to live in California. The only thing I liked about California was Tupac, and I'm like, what do I need to be in California? Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly. So I'm like, what do I need to go to California for? But as far as what the future holds, I mean, hell, it could be anything. I don't know. I think career-wise for me, it's about making the most of the opportunity I have right now with the things that are in front of me, them being right at the moment, hit the floor, finishing up the season. And then, getting ready for the gap of time before we start getting to these other questions, like will there be more or whatever the case may be. But a lot of it's just, being prepared, making sure you have the right people on your team, and like going into any opportunity as an opportunity to
So what's your hustle
audition.
then? Because I think a common misconception people have of just Hollywood stars and what have you is that you come to Hollywood, you make a name for yourself, and it's just smooth sailing.
that's
And
not
it's
at all.
not. You have
No.
to be constantly on your hustle and on your grind. So what is your grind so that way you're constantly relevant?
Well, for me, a lot of I stay on my gym hustle all the time, and I really dig boxing and martial arts, so I stay on that. But as far as the career part goes, I mean, I think, as an artist, you're allowed the opportunity to work on a specific show and a specific story for 5-6 months, which is amazing.
Right.
But the moment it's over, it's like, oh man, now what am
Yeah.
I? You're like sitting
Yeah.
here doing this, So for me, I might hop back into an acting class. I might. I wrote a short that I want to produce. Like I'm definitely going to do that. So to me, it's about leveraging that same energy and passion that I put into trying to make the most out of this character and the story that I'm in and hit the floor and transitioning that to something else. And I think that's the part where you have to be creative and proactive, because when I get done here and I go home, Steven Spielberg's not going to be reading the paper on my steps. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you gotta continue to hustle. And for me, it's also about humility, because it's like, it might, on paper, it could seem weird, like somebody that's on the show or has credits to go into an acting class with people that may or may not have worked. But to me, that doesn't matter. What it is an opportunity to flex my creative muscle and to grow and to challenge myself in ways that I haven't been challenged, or to remind myself of the small things that everybody tends to forget in life sometimes, that are really the big things. So for me, it's just about, staying focused and being about the hustle, but at the same time, like making time to like go visit friends, go to Miami,
Right.
New York, whatever. Maybe overseas, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it's about, being proactive about those things.
Now, have you ever had a moment in your career when you were in LA and you just had an absolute drought and thought, oh my God, what am I doing here? Or
Yeah.
can you delve into that a
Yeah,
little
no,
bit?
absolutely.
And how you got yourself out of that?
Man, I tell you what, I think I had there was a period of time when it was actually the pilot season when I booked this, but rewinding a few weeks before I got the callback for this show, I went through pilot season. I had booked Devious Maids, and I had shot that as a recurring character. But before I did even book that, I was literally in touch with headhunters for software companies, because I used to work for IBM.
Right.
And they were looking for jobs for me around in San Francisco, the Bay Area here, so I could stay relatively close and still pursue acting. And literally, the callback for Hit the Floor was on a Friday, and I got a call from a headhunter in the Bay Area saying, I got this really great job for you.
Really?
It pays more than your previous job. They're going to give you this. You're going to have to travel a little bit. You might be traveling 60% of the time, but all the things you said you wanted, they're willing to do. And I was like, I'm going to have to think about it. Just let me think about it for a night. And I woke up the next morning, was like, I didn't move out here to do that.
Right.
Those kinds of jobs, though they're amazing, those types of jobs are always around. But the opportunity to continue to do this for whoever knows how long, I'll roll the dice. And then literally I get the call back for this. I got the call back for the role of Terrence, actually. Went back in, auditioned for that, was going to my car. They asked me to read for something else, and then I ended up getting the role as Derek.
So then at what point between being in Atlanta and winning, not winning, but you're in the top 5 for the All My Children, the blah, 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 blah. Anyway, he was one of the 5 sexiest men, okay? We're not gonna downplay that.
That is funny.
So, but between then and then coming into California and then pursuing this and working, on, off, whatever,
Yeah.
at what point in your life did you decide that this art is no longer something that you want to do, but something that you need to do?
Oh, it was before I moved here. That's
Yeah.
the only reason why I moved here, because I didn't want to be in a situation where, X number of years from now, I look back and be like, I wonder what would have happened if I tried. I'd rather fail than not try. So that with that in itself, I was like, skip it. Let's just do it. Let's just see what happens. But there's a moment when I was pursuing acting full time, and I was also still working full time, and I would get up for these early conference calls at like 5 minutes before they started. I still sat. You could tell I just woke up. But if my call time was at the same time, like 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd be up at 2:30. Showered, ready, wide awake, just can't. And I knew that that's where my passion was. So, I committed myself to wanting to getting better at it. As I said before, acting classes, looking myself in the mirror, being like, if I got hired on a job tomorrow, I wouldn't know what a mark was. I wouldn't know what this was, because I didn't grow up. I wasn't an actor. You know what I mean?
Right.
But so committing myself to be better at those things, and then those things start to work together.
What was your family's first reaction when you told them, Mom, Dad, sisters, yeah, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to move to LA and I want to do acting. Well, because you were in Atlanta, actually.
Yeah, I was in Atlanta, and I actually was able to keep my job when I moved to Los Angeles because
okay.
all I needed was my computer. But when I did decide to let that go and all the the stability that comes with it, my mom and dad were like, cool.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, they were like, go for it. Why not? I was like, all right.
That's amazing. You had such a supportive parents, because I know some people's parents would just completely disown them.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I mean, my parents, they just want me to be happy, and they believe I can do anything, and I believe I can do anything, so it works out. But no, I mean, they've been supportive, and it's definitely been a blessing. Yeah.
Do your sisters ever give you a hard time?
Oh man, my sisters call me every Monday after the show goes off, and they're just like, okay, so what happens next?
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, my younger sister hung up on me one time.
Why? Oh, because you were such a butthole.
No, not even that. It's funny because she was calling me asking me what happens next, and I was like, I can't tell you. She was like, you mean to tell me you can't? I was like, I can't.
She's like, I'm your sister.
The phone went dead. Yeah. But I got it. My younger sister. I don't know if you remember last season when I got punched in the face. Yeah. So my sister called me afterwards. She was like, so I don't really care if you got punched in the face as long as you end up with this girl. I was like, that's my sister. Gangster.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So how are you able, I mean, I would imagine your family is very supportive of you, but with all this glitz and glamour and all these things going on, and you're being labeled VH1's heartthrob, and there's Mckinley's abs and this, that, and whatever, how do you stay so humble and grounded?
I'm just me. Like, all the heartthrob and I don't even know what that means. All I know is I wake up and I hustle. That's all I got. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, like, my hustle is just slightly different than somebody else's. You know what I mean? I'm very fortunate to be in the situation that I'm in. And like, when I go home, my nephews don't care. They probably don't even know what channels exist outside of Nickelodeon and
Disney.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, that's great, you're on a TV show, but can we go outside and play? And it's that type of stuff. Like, I just keep real people around me, and I'm very grateful for my family and for the friends that I do have. And at the end of the day, like, none of this stuff lasts forever. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where it's like, the stuff that does last forever are the relationships and stuff that you have. And at the end of the day, like, I'm no different than anybody else. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I put my pants on, I wake up, I go about my business, and it's like, I'm just fortunate. And I recognize it's actually a great point for me, is that I'm glad that I didn't book things right away when I moved here, and I'm glad that I had to book co-stars and all that. Like, I'm glad a lot of stuff wasn't given to me or fell into my lap, because what it did was it made me appreciate the work ethic that it took to get me there.
Exactly.
And the people that I met along the way that are going through the exact same thing, that are the people that are in acting class every day still now that don't get auditions. So making the most of these opportunities, because in my victories are their victories. And then, I just don't make anything bigger than it really is,
I think also, too, not that I'm trying to give you a psychoanalysis or anything, but I think also, too, because you started your career a little bit later on in life and you had that foundational upbringing, that it's so much easier for you to be true to who you are.
Well, my thing is, if I can't be myself, who the hell am I going to be?
I mean, people get lost in Hollywood all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, not to call anybody out, but look at Lindsay Lohan and Amanda Bynes, who grew up in the spotlight, and they're just a mess.
No, I mean, I think definitely people go through their sets of challenges, and I think those ladies had some measure of success, and then are dealing with other things in life and those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, it's like, they're still people, and and it's like we all go through there are different human things that connect us, and I think our ability to hold on to those things, because this set will change. They're gonna come out with new TVs, these beads things. There's gonna be some new color. All this stuff will change, but you'll always be who you are, and I'll always be who I am, and that's the most important thing. It's just like a scene in a movie. Like, as long as you're who you are, it doesn't matter if this conversation takes place on the moon, on Mars, in a submarine, underwater. It doesn't matter.
Right. We have actually a picture. It's 5 topics ago relevant, but I'm still going to have Steven pull it up. It's a picture of you laying somewhere.
Steven.
It's just your abs, But the reason I wanted to pull it up, and it's so contrasting, to be honest with you, because this is what, the third time?
Tell me how you break down this.
Okay, ladies, this is how I'm going to break this picture down. No, I've met you. This is the 3rd time now. And every time I've met you, you've been so kind and such a gentleman. But looking at stuff like this, you're like, oh, this guy's got to be so full of himself. Look at him. And but this is all part of the whole, it's just how you market yourself, basically.
Well, I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, like like I'm a gentleman and these kinds of things, but I'm also still a man.
He's a man.
You know what I mean?
Dang,
like I can be a gentleman,
Yeah.
but I also can like close the door and turn
Yeah.
the music up real loud and do what needs to be done. You know, so it's not like it's Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and I got, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm kicking off my sweater and all this other stuff. Like I'm still a dude, you know what I mean? But I think, you know, I think anybody, I mean, just like anybody else, I think people are complex. There's different parts to everybody. And to label somebody one thing, you could miss out on the other thing that perhaps you could learn from or whatever the case may be.
So let's be real though. How many women do you have constantly throwing themselves at you?
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't.
How do you not know?
I think you know, you know, yeah. I don't know if there's a.
He's stuttering, guys. Just for the record.
I don't know if there's a specific number, but I'll say that, like, you know,
it happens.
It happens. But my thing again is like, you know, I'm who I am, and like, I'm not really swayed one way or the other as it relates to those kinds of things. But it's definitely a challenge that I didn't have to face before first.
It's a challenge, is it?
I think challenge is the first word that came to mind, but it's definitely it's been fun. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how else to answer that question.
So then let me ask you, what's your game? So it's like this really pretty girl. You already know she's smart, she's intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get to know her. She's right over there. You walk up to her. What do you say?
I'd walk just like you did, like
yeah,
this.
just like that.
I don't know. I don't have like a specific thing to say, or like I don't have like any really compelling jokes or anything like that. I'm just like, I just start talking like I do when I sit down in interviews. I just start running my mouth, and I'm like, oh man. Then I think about it on the ride home, like, man, did I say that? But what I will say is that I'm not one to walk away from if I feel like if I feel like I want to talk to somebody, I am the person that will go say something, and if I make a fool of myself, I'll deal with that on the ride home. But what I won't deal with is like, man, I should have said something to her.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so with that, I don't know, just in a moment, we'll see.
Have you had any like really super embarrassing moments, like with a girl that you either just started dating or like you approached her and it just
I had a real embarrassing moment when I was in high school, but like, you know, it was actually on the heels of like I had there's a string of years when I was growing up where I had like a family tragedy. Like I had somebody I knew died every year, and at one point I was just like, this doesn't last forever, skip it. So the next day I went to school, the most beautiful girl in school. I'm a freshman. I weigh like, I don't know, 42 pounds, and I got a 60-pound backpack. I don't know. But I literally walk up to her, and it's like one of those scenes out of a movie where like everybody's watch me walk in slow motion. My boys are like, no, don't. And I walk up to her, I tap her on the shoulder. I was like, hey, listen, you know what? I think you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my life, and I just wanted to say that. And I turned around with my backpack and walked to class.
Aw, that's so
it was
cute.
cool, right? That sounds like that's the end of the story, but it's not.
Oh.
So like 2 days later, I'm like, you know, I'm like hanging out at lunch, and there's like this little chain thing, and I'm just sitting on it, and she's like walking up, and I'm just too cool. I'm so cool on this. This is the coolest I've ever been.
Yeah.
And like literally, the weight from the backpack took me backwards, and I fell on my ass right in front of her. She kept walking. I was like,
Dang.
but hey, you know what?
Play her down.
Yeah, I know. But it was cool. I mean, you know, hey, I'm sure between now and Christmas there'll be other embarrassing things that'll happen. Like, yeah,
Right.
but you know, I just roll with it.
Are there any like celebrity ladies that if you ever saw them, you'd be just so starstruck?
I think there are definitely beautiful people.
Or even men, just somebody that you're like, wow.
I think if we're just talking about on the dating side, I would say, you know, like I think Zoe Saldana's beautiful.
Yes.
I think Minka Kelly's beautiful. But as far as starstruck as a like, wow, I really respect that person. Like I would love to meet Sidney Poitier. Mm-hmm. I think that would be that's probably one of the few. Sidney Poitier and Stan Lee. I would love to meet those two guys. I've crossed paths with Denzel a couple of times. He's a really nice guy and he's just a normal dude. You know what I mean? So like, I think I'd say Stan Lee and Sidney Poitier. I'd be like, yo, I got to take a picture or write a comic book. I don't know. Let me go. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. No, I mean when I say Stan Lee, because like if you think about every Marvel superhero movie that came out, like he's literally the guy that came up with those, you know, and he's got like material for decades. It's just amazing to me. And Sidney Poitier, I mean, like his track record speaks for itself. He's very regal, very like, he's done a lot in his career, both in front of the camera, behind the camera, and in the streets. Like, I know Harry Belafonte marched with Martin Luther King, and Sidney Poitier was, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, like the impact that had culturally, these kinds of things. Like, these are like the stepping stones that allow us to be here having these conversations, so.
So is that somebody you look up to, or is there somebody specifically that you do look up to?
I think, hustle-wise, like, I respect Will Smith's hustle. I think, he's a guy that at a very young age knew what he was selling and got really good at it, and as his career progressed, he continued to hone his skills. And I think, there's one thing about Will that I remember from an interview that he said. He was like, there's one thing that I can guarantee is that if I'm on a treadmill and the person next to me gets on the treadmill, they're going to lose or I'm going to die before I get off the treadmill before then. And I'm like that. I'm like, I can be cool and all these other things, but when it comes time to work and it comes time to take care of business, like, you're going to have to, something's going to have to happen. Like, I'm not just going to quit. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not in me.
Well, you have to have diligence in order to be successful in this industry.
Yeah,
so.
no, I mean, you have to be convinced. Like, it's good to be confident, but you have to be convinced that there is no other way for this to happen but the way I choose to happen. And of course, you have to be flexible. You learn, you get more information, you're well informed. There's different paths to take, but in the end, it comes down to a choice, and I choose to do this. Even this acting thing, like, if Hit the Floor goes however long, and then after that, like, okay, what's next? You know what I mean?
What would you do? Like, if that was done, I'm not trying to put it out there, but let's just say.
Yeah, I mean, what are we doing
No,
right now?
I don't mean like it, but what would you be doing if this didn't work out for you?
I would be doing the exact same thing.
Just hustling.
I would be hustling. Like, listen, like, if Hit the Floor never happened, my life would still be great. If I was still out there hustling, not having a TV show, like, I still believe that I would make the most of my days. Because at the end of the day, there's just a bunch of hours that we got.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate to have taken advantage of a situation that was put in front of me. But at the end of the day, as amazing as Hit the Floor is, it doesn't make me the person.
Of course.
Neither do red carpets. And as much as red carpets and parties and meeting people and getting free stuff, as important as that stuff is, free stuff goes to Goodwill, red carpets get rolled up, and next thing you know, somebody's peeing on the sidewalk. They had a red carpet on. So it's like none of this stuff
is permanent.
It's none of it's permanent. But within that is an opportunity to maximize that, but not for the sake of losing yourself in it. And I just refuse to do that.
Yeah.
If I ever did, I would just quit.
Now, I'm just going to piggyback off of you'd mentioned Goodwill. Do you have any charities that you really are like super supportive of? I know we actually have a picture of you I came across.
Oh, boy.
Our last picture. But as it's pulling up, is there anything specific that you really advocate that you'd like to maybe spread a message about? Yeah,
I was doing work with Covenant House. This is me clearly not shaved for a while with some gloves on. But this was during Thanksgiving last year. I got involved in the Los Angeles mission. They fed so many people. It was a really cool thing. And honestly, it's definitely something that I'm passionate about. We got so much food on the planet. I don't understand. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The other one is Covenant House. They're a charity based in Los Angeles, and they help youth that live on the street in Los Angeles. They give them a place to live, help them kind of figure their lives out. For the ones that are working age, they try to line up jobs for them. They got housing for them. So they do a lot of stuff. They do a thing called a sleep out, which I think just passed, but they basically get people to sleep out on the street for a night and try to raise awareness to the plight of some of the youth in Los Angeles and to raise money for the cause. So their facility is fantastic. I know Beth Koritz and her husband do a lot of good work there, and that's something that, again, it's like, the resources are there, the people are there that want to help. Let's try to help other people.
All right, so I'm going to slowly wrap this up, but I want to know if you can come up with, off the top of your head, give me like 5 Mckinley Freeman facts that maybe us fans may not know about you. 5
Mckinley Freeman facts that people don't know.
And hit us hard.
Yeah, okay, so let's see. Mckinley is my middle name.
Yes.
My first name is David, and I'm the second. I was named after my dad. What else? I'm not going to say that one. No,
that's one we want to know now.
There was when I lived in Chicago, there was a Black Women's Expo, and I convinced somebody to give me a part-time job as a masseuse in the expo, which was fun. What else?
You're like, women clients only, please.
Yeah. No, I'm like, hey, fella, I'm sorry, buddy. I think you're fantastic with this. This seat's for you.
And you really pulled it off, and you were giving people massages?
Oh yeah, absolutely. People were. I don't know how it happened, but it just happened. It was great. It was like one of those chair massages, but here I am, a stranger, just rubbing on random people. You know what I mean? Like, it was so weird. Also, it's interesting. I always forget this. Like, before I went back to business school, I met with the modeling agency in Chicago, and they were like, "Yo, if you don't go to school, we'll pay for you to go to acting class, and we can get you some pictures because we think you might be able to act, whatever. You can memorize things, whatever." So sometimes when I remember that, I'm like, oh, I wonder what would have happened if I would have just went straight when I graduated. But let's see. Other than that, I think I really wish I could speak Spanish fluently. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's it.
I got 2 more. I need 2 more from you.
That was 4. Like, what kind of math are we using? I think the 5th one would be that, at some point, like, I really would love to have a family at some point, but it's the part where you got to get along with somebody long enough to have the family.
And that has not happened yet?
Yeah, no, I'm still just kind of floating around. We'll see what happens.
So can I ask you, how many, like, serious relationships have you been in?
I've been in a handful. Yeah, I've been in a handful. And it's, maybe it's part of my personality, but I just, I believe in doing the most in the moment to try to leverage the opportunity. I don't believe in breaking up and coming back together. And there was one instance where it was almost a possibility, but that didn't really. But I do everything I can in the moment. If it doesn't work, at least I can walk away knowing that I did everything I could. So
are you the type of person that gets bored real quickly, or it's just people grow up, grow apart, change?
Yeah, I don't know if it's even getting bored real quickly, but having some excitement and mixing it up is important. But I think beyond that, I think it's just, 2 people. I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect relationship, but there is situations, in my opinion, where you can find a perfect relationship with 2 imperfect people. There's 2 things that that work together, because nobody's perfect. And,
right.
And but I do believe that the possibility for love and stuff is out there for everybody. And it's just being honest about what's important to you and what's not, and that helps sift through a lot of the BS and allows you to have a clear dialogue straight with somebody, you know what I mean? And I think that's important. And then, my cousin says it best, sometimes you meet people's ambassador, you know what I mean? Like, everybody, when you first meet someone, you meet their ambassador, and they're wearing a Halloween costume and everything's great. And but then after a while, when you truly get to know someone, that's the real part.
Of course.
And in that is if you find something in that, that's worth holding on to, then that's where, the real relationship begins, in my opinion. But I could be really wrong.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so now we know what you look for in a woman, a relationship, and we know that we can catch you on Hit the Floor coming up season 2. What else did we learn about you today?
May 26th, Hit the Floor.
May 26th, that's right. There was something else that I wanted to mention. I just don't know.
Remember. You want to flash up more pictures?
No. We're good. We're good. We'll make some pictures of our own.
Here we go.
There we go. So, anyways, thank you so much for stopping by and giving us the opportunity just to get to know you a little bit more as well.
No, sure. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure I'll be around to do some stuff when the show comes back on, because there's going to be a lot of things to talk about. So.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you guys, look for his book on Amazon. Until then, I'm Alikona Bradford. You can find me at Kiss My Passport. And once again, can you please leave us your Twitter handle?
Absolutely. It's at Mckinley Freeman on both Instagram and Twitter.
Thank you so much. Yeah, see you guys later.
Thank you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.